Hello and welcome to another Sonic Lab special. We have had a visit from Native Instruments. If you're watching this, it means that the new Komplete Kontrol Mark, is it 2 or 3? Mark 2 has been fully announced. I'm here with Tim Adnitt, who's product owner of the Komplete Kontrol sort of software ecosystem, right?
Right, yeah, so the software side of things. Yeah.
So this is the new Komplete Kontrol Mark 2.
Indeed.
Quite a lot of differences.
Absolutely, yeah.
Matte finish to begin with?
Yep, matte finish. There's an awful lot of things that have changed. And crucially, that all really begins with the workflow side of things. So when we started this project, we spent a lot of time talking to users and really just wanting to find out what's the most important thing in your process when you start a track. What's the thing that's the most, say the thing that most gets in your way.
Right.
And the answer, I mean, they were all over the place, the answers, of course. And these were really across the board from, you know, really high-end artists to beginners, people who've been doing this a long time, all sorts of things. And the key thing was that they didn't want anything getting in the way of this idea that they had and just getting it captured in their DAW. That was the crucial aspect of it. So that was really the jumping off point. And then when you go a bit deeper into that, into workflows, it really boils down, that little part of the workflow really boils down to 3 things. And those 3 things are finding the sound that you want. Right. There's so much out there. Making that sound unique. It's really important that you can make it your own. You don't want to just be using the same thing as everyone else. Yeah. And then the third part of this is obviously this whole process of very quickly, very easily getting this idea down into your DAW, whatever that happens to be.
Right, so with that in mind, I mean, there are a number of differences here. I mean, first up, you've got more screenage.
Absolutely, exactly, more screenage. So we have the 2 big screens in the middle. The central console will actually look very familiar to you from Machina MK3, which is the other device that's launching at the same time. And obviously that gives you a lot more options. It makes everything more visual, it makes things quicker. So it's just a really good place to start with really taking these workflows from MK1 and just taking them to the next level and extending that workflow a bit further.
And we seem to have more buttons and more knobs as well.
Indeed. So we've got over here, as on the Machina MK3, we have the 4-directional push encoder. So that's a control that can move left and right and up and down, as well as scrolling. Right. So really, really useful little addition. Your buttons over here, which are all to do with the mode that you're in. We can talk more about those in a moment. This side, you've got your transport, and then some new things up here: undo, redo, quantize, automation, tap tempo, metronome, loop, all these things that are really just intended to give you very fast direct access to key things when you're trying to get something down.
So are these these controls here, the auto, the quantize and auto, are they DAW or complete specific, or are they, you know, agnostic?
They will talk to whatever you have connected to it.
Right.
So the DAWs that we're working with are Logic Pro 10, GarageBand, Ableton Live, which I have here. And later this year, we'll also introduce Cubase and Nuendo to that. Right. And of course, Machina, they're used in that context as well. So they're really they're designed to talk to whatever it is you have on the other end of them.
And this is the 61 key here. We've got the same light guide kind of blinky lights. Everybody loves blinky lights.
Everybody loves blinky lights. So the light guide is here. Right. It's been refined. So it's actually a little bit brighter, and these more focus slots just to really help you with things like key splits, very much like the MK1. So key splits maybe on instruments, or scales, arpeggios, positions and sequencers. You know, people have used them in various different ways.
So I noticed there's also a kind of modified control section here as well, performance section.
That's right. So we have here a physical pitch wheel and a physical mod wheel, both which have this really great feel. They're very, very nice to use. So if you're more of a traditional keyboard player, it's something you're immediately going to be used to using. But also we have underneath it a touch strip running horizontally. And that's just good for more experimental things, or just to get that additional degree of expression.
Right, because before it was just touch strips, wasn't it? There was no
exactly. So now we really have this best of both worlds solution.
And I noticed there's fixed velocity as well.
Yep, so we have fixed velocity. That's something that was requested quite a bit, and it's great for example, playing perhaps drum patterns from samples, or, you know, emulations of analog synths, for example, that kind of thing.
And octave up and down.
Exactly, octave up, down, and also semitone up and down as well.
Right, okay. Yep. Okay, so outside of this, I mean, all of this stuff happens. We've got MIDI in and out. Is it class compliant? Does it need power? I mean, what's those?
So it's completely USB powered. You can connect a power supply, which I've done here. but you certainly don't have to. It'll run off USB bus power, no problem. And then you just install Komplete Kontrol software or Komplete Select or some variation of Komplete, and then everything will be there ready for you to just really plug and play.
And of course, in the Komplete aspect, we've got this kind of visual representation. I mean, presumably, do you get the same level of granularity when you're working with, say, VST plugins that are not of native instrument origin?
The browser obviously is taking some cues from Machina Studio, the work that we did there, and you'll see a lot of connection with the Machina MK3. And that essentially holds everything that we make as Native Instruments, but it also has everything in there on the factory side made by our NKS partners. This is a Native Control standard, which was a standard that we introduced 2 years ago now.
Right, well, we spoke about this, didn't
exactly,
we? That people can, like the metadata that allows...
Yeah, essentially it just gives access to the native browser, to native map, to the light guide, to everything that we can access from our own instruments. It opens that up and gives it allows partners to do it. So Arteria, Output, Spitfire, etc., UHE. So lots of stuff out there now.
So in terms of keybed and action, is it the same?
Yep, so the keybed is the same keybed. It's the FATAR keybed from the MK1. It's something that really everybody liked. It was very, very popular. So we wanted to keep that for this device.
Remind me, Aftertouch?
Yep, Aftertouch.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, presumably the integration again. I mean, what you're aiming for this really again is to sort of take people away from the computer screen so they can just kind of muscle memory and create, right?
Right, exactly. And specifically for that part of the process where you're getting things down. So we're not really looking at arranging here. Arranging is something that we see as a different part of the process. But this is the thing, you know, where you have like 20% of the ideas, they make up 80% of your track. So it's really focusing on that moment where you're at an instrument, you're doing things that just make sense at a keyboard.
So the 3 mode buttons here, or more mode buttons up, we've got obviously browser, which we're looking at now.
Yep. Yeah, let me take you through the browser because there's some cool new stuff here actually. So the browser obviously is now very visual, and that helps to make things faster. So it takes the MK1 native browser and just extends it that little bit further. And one of the problems, of course, with these big libraries is that it takes time to switch between them. So one of the cool things about the browser is that I could, for example, say, I want to search for drums and I want analog drum kit, but I don't want to specify a product. So it could be Abbey Road Drummer, it could be battery, it really could be anything. It could be Polyplex, it could be an NKS plugin, could be anything. And obviously, if I'm having to load each one of those, it takes time to switch between them. So what we have now is we have previews, so instrument previews, and it's very, very simple, but something that really accelerates the workflow. I'll just show it to you, and you'll see what's going on. So I'm just going to step through these results. So each one of those is playing a little preview that really just gives me an idea of what it's all about. So I have the visual information of its name, but now I also have audible information.
Is that a kind of specification of the NKS
It
format?
is, yeah, it is also included in Native Control Standard, so it's a recent addition to NKS. So this will be there for all of our plugins, all of our products, and all NKS products. So essentially anything in your factory tab that's an instrument will have these previews associated with it. So you can really browse across products and make the most of that without these load times.
Can you switch it off?
You can indeed, yes.
Obviously,
of course,
you're changing patches mid-set. You may not want the...
Yeah, absolutely. You can, of course, turn it off.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So, and obviously, you know, there's a few other modes here. What else have we got?
Yeah, so the other things we've got, I mean, this is a good time to really start talking about how this works with your DAW. So I'll just take you through a fairly common workflow.
So should we look at the screen for this one?
Yeah, let's have a little look at Ableton Live for this first part. And I'll just take you through the controls and show you what's going on the screen. So first of all, coming to this 4-directional push encoder that I mentioned earlier. So first thing it can do, it can navigate up and down my session. So that obviously just gives me access to the tracks I need. So if I have a load of Komplete Kontrol instances loaded up as a template, I can very quickly move through them. Of course, it also will navigate to MIDI tracks or.
And it record enables the selected track.
Exactly. So you're just ready to play straight off the bat. The other thing that you can do from the 4-directional encoder is you can scrub the transport. So if I just move down to here, you'll see in Ableton, looking up here at the transport, you can see that I'm moving that very, very quickly, and that's obviously just more accurate than fast forward rewind, a lot quicker to get to where you want to get to.
Right.
So that's also very key. Then if we come over to this side, what I'll do is I've just got a little scratch thing here, and I'm going to just add a couple of little textures to it. So before I was in the browser mode and looking at sounds, finding a sound. Now I'm in plugin mode, so I'm looking at the native map on the screens, and I can adjust that sound, make that sound my own. And I've got this track here, and I'm just going to record a little texture underneath. So I can do that really easily. All I have to do is select my track, hit record. And this time around. Okay. Now maybe I just want to add some automation.
Right.
So I've got my automation already turned on here, but I can toggle that on and off, and that's talking to Ableton Live at this point.
Oh, directly, right.
Exactly, okay. And you'll see that as I turn this control, so I'm going to do a cut-off sweep, you can see that it's writing automation. So that's all in there, ready to go.
So these macros are all the ones that you predefine in the MKS?
Yeah, exactly. So this is native map. This is massive, so it's one of our products. So this is native map, where I'm just moving the knobs. It's very, very hands-on. It's very tactile and a very quick way to work. I maybe go to the next track. I can now add another layer, so on and so forth. And the idea is that I can really stay at my keyboard this whole time and just build up track, build up tracks, build up tracks, get things where I want them to be. Oh, I've got another idea, move to a new section, get that one down, and just build these things up vertically to capture ideas really, really quickly without ever leaving here. And crucially, if I kick this one, Mixer, what I'm looking at here is Ableton Live's Mixer. So I can navigate through the whole thing. I've got my master over here, obviously, and I can very, very quickly and easily adjust levels, maybe bring in some other elements.
Are these the same touch-sensitive encoders that are
They
on
are indeed. It's the exact same encoder that's on the Maschine MK3. So I can change my levels, bring things in and out. It's quite playful. And if I push this, then I can also navigate, pan these things.
Same protocol, yeah.
Exactly. I can also obviously move between tracks here. All the things that you'd really expect and that you know from working with Mixer on a Maschine controller when it comes to Maschine. But crucially, this is the Ableton Live Mixer here. So it's really gives me a lot of options, a lot of opportunity.
So presumably also you can use this as a sort of generic MIDI controller, right?
Right, absolutely. So there's a MIDI button here, and as soon as I press that, I'm in MIDI mode. And as you'd expect, I can define my template, so I can assign CCs. Unlike the MK1, so we've got 8 soft buttons now, which we've added. So you've got a few more options up here as well. But yeah, you can really just say, okay, I want this to be CC 11, this to be CC whatever.
Right, so you define that in the software or on the unit
yes,
itself?
you define all of that. You set up the template in Komplete Kontrol software directly. So you can just get it exactly how you want it and then ready to map to whatever it is that you're wanting to map it to.
Got ya.
So there's one more thing that I'd really like to show you, which is the integration with Maschine.
Right.
So Maschine, obviously a really great instrument, and we've really taken the same approach with Komplete Kontrol as we have to DAWs, which is this whole getting ideas down very fast. And obviously Maschine is really well suited to that. So right now I'm in Maschine on my device, and there's a lot more here that you couldn't previously do. So I'm able to access the different levels. I've got over here my browser. So the browser lets me access all the different file types that you'd expect in Maschine. So it's this really good complement. And of course, the Maschine mixer is in there. I can move between the different levels. If I hit play here, you see me moving between the different levels. So that's all in there as well. So all the things that we love. But there's a few other additions too, one of which is this thing called key mode. So key mode, what it does is it lays out 16 keys as if they were pads on a Maschine controller. So that just means that I can play my Maschine kit directly from the keyboard if I want to. So just an alternative way of inputting a little groove that you couldn't do before. So that's now in there and all reflected on the light guide, of course. And then the other thing that we have here, so you'll be very familiar, I'm sure, with the Maschine Ideas view, which was released earlier this year. And that's really just a new way of thinking about assembling ideas and getting ideas down. It's very, very fast. And that's brought right here to the screens. So if I just go to this empty one here, just hit play, I'll show you briefly how it works. So what I've got here is I've got on the top my scenes, because I'm in the scene page. Along the bottom I have my groups. And of course, because these are touch encoders, I can shift between them just by tapping. And vertically here, I've got all the patterns that are inside those groups. So all I need to do is choose exactly what I want from each group and just really try things out. So it's really, really playful, really, really good way of saying, oh, actually, yeah, let's try this. Okay, yeah, What's that? You know, and just really try out these different ideas
So you can just load them in real time into those slots.
Exactly. So it's about just this first stage of assembling your material into buckets. Of course, the other great thing is that I can very quickly move between these different sections.
So performances.
Exactly. So it starts to just bring that kind of performance aspect into your studio environment. It's a really, really great way of getting your ideas down fast if you're already a Maschine user. And of course, these two units are really made to work well together in that environment.
Why not get both?
Why not get both? Exactly.
So is this available in all the same sizes?
This one, so we focused on the S49 and the S61.
Right.
So we have S49 Mark II and S61 Mark II.
And what about pricing and availability?
So pricing, availability, so it launches on the 5th of October, which is the same date as the Maschine MK3.
Yep.
And it's priced at exactly the same price as the S49 and S61 Mark Is.
Okay, I don't suppose you remember what those numbers are, do you?
Yeah, so that's 599
right.
And 699.
Right, respectively.
Euro, yep.
Tim, thank you very much for showing us. So these are going to be available, as you say, October 5th. If you're watching this, then presumably this is sometime in September where we're allowed to show you the preview. So yeah, thank you very much for coming down, Tim.
Thank you
it's been
very
a pleasure.
much. Thank you.
That's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for more content. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.